the other way. And you can't really fault either player for the amount of effort, right? Like Rami's really putting the time to get that #1 legend rank, and I'm really kind of hoping that our newcomer for GM is able to finally put on a performance that, not only he's proud of, but people from Argentina is proud of, given that PNC is now no longer GM, but is in the running to be a GM again from his earnings. Fr0zen seems to be in good spirits, kind of chuckling at whatever his pre-game rituals including. Maybe joking around with the admin a little bit. Who knows? But here we go. Game number 1 with that Druid versus the Demon Hunter. I think that this matchup is going to require Fr0zen to play a lot more tempo-oriented, so we'll see what his overgrowth hand will lead him to. Rami has a pretty interesting hand. I'm not really sure about where Spectral Sight's role is in this matchup, because I feel like it's much better as against slower matches where you can kind of ramp up against it. But at the same time, I kind of want to establish the tempo versus Druid, and I don't want to be spending my 2 mana drawing cards when I could be just playing minions and pushing damage. So it looks like Rami agrees here and he throws it back.
Yeah. Much rather, I think, be playing a little bit more proactive. And Spectral Sight is one of those cards where, it feels just kind of good to rip it off the top when you're running low on resources. And that's about it. I mean, I don't necessarily like the card in the deck overall as a tech conclusion, but like if I'm going to be playing it, almost no matchup am I keeping it in the mulligan.
Yeah, it's entirely fair. And I like that. I like that that Rami seems to be keeping his mulligan much more focused on what he wants to be doing against Druid versus reactively against Druid. I think that's a good call.
Time grows short.
Yeah, Fr0zen very clearly staying on the overgrowth plan that will push him to eventually have an opportunity to play Overflow, but he will need that extra turn since he doesn't get that mana discount permanently. And then Rami finds the Twin Slice. Okay.
Whoo!
I mean, that is some good damage, and he has the Skull Dance, so we can maybe even craft together a potential aggressive line here.
Yeah, he could be, hyper aggressive. Maybe not even aggressive, but just burst oriented.
Definitely interested in it, TJ.
But Fr0zen does have a good amount of healing. He's running a list. I guess he only runs 1 Crystal Power, but does have the overflows. Has double Iron Bark, which, like an Iron Bark board, especially Survival of the Fittest or Exotic Mount Seller, can really be tough for Demon Hunters to Soul Demon Hunters to chew through. But one of the things that extra Twin Slice offers is the ability for Blade Dance to kind of clean things up. And one of the few times that being at 6 mana with Bog Beam is actually a benefit instead of a detriment, because it's buffing the Speaker Gidra by a good amount. Also has Overflow to follow this up to kind of heal it if Rami doesn't deal with it right away.
Right, which
that, I think it should have a target on its back.
I wouldn't blame Rami if he doesn't want to acknowledge this right away.
You don't pick the ones, see?
Nice, that's a full hand. Double Jump will pull a Skull, which actually... Yeah, we'll pull a Skull. He played the Spectral Sight this turn. Gonna coin Hero Power instead.
Well, I mean, right now this gives Fr0zen an opportunity to climb really far ahead. Looks like he wanted to prioritize playing the Overflow first before he committed to his attacks. Finds Bog Beam. I don't think he needs to dump his hand. But it just keeps the tempo on his side, and he can go 8 upstairs. I mean, this is starting to turn to a pretty fast matchup.
Soulshare finally gives Rami some soul fragments.
There you go. Doesn't feel good, but gotta find a way to deal with the Speaker Gidra, otherwise it's gonna just completely solo you. Yep. If you look at Rami, he had 12 damage dealt by that card, and it's about to continue to pile on. Fr0zen finds Guardian Animals to follow up for his next turn. Looks like he wants to use his Lightning Bloom this turn to put out that Ysera
My dream.
while he has that opportunity.
Yep. I like this. Still at 30. Rami has not put on any meaningful pressure. He's only on 6 mana. Just shuffled soul fragments into his deck. And he does not run Consume Magic. So Fr0zen, actually, if he just plays Reinforcements here, Rami's just never getting through this.
Well, maybe he doesn't have to.
He does have to. At some point, he has to. It's just, does he have to this turn? No, but...
Sure. I guess I meant more like, what if he just like tries to set up a board, deal damage, then go for a Blade Dance instead of confronting it with his own life total? Because this is definitely an expensive resource. The Dragon Portal summons Deathwing. Now Fr0zen can just play Guardian Animals. Oh my goodness.
This timeline amuses me.
Oh wow. We're basically ending the very end. We're getting to the end here. Magtheridon off the top is the only thing that I can think of for Rami, and even then it's looking dicey. This is looking like game number 1 over to Fr0zen super fast. Before Rami even got to have his 7th mana crystal, felt like this one was gonna be a struggle here. 2 times Blade Dance. Is that what he's hoping he gets to hit the Deathwing?
Up!
Gotta do it again. Oh. Oh,
It was like a
and that's gonna do
60%
it.
chance followed by a 75% chance, right? Maybe a little higher than that. Math gets a little complicated. But even then, like, he's at 10. He still has to attack into something and take the damage from something, and that's both Blade Dances, so any more Dream Pulls that come out, he has no answer for. Magtheridon, like you said, was probably his only hope, but just kind of brutal game. You know, didn't find... Had a decent curve, but when you're going, like, Overgrowth on 3 into Speaker Gidra, buff it on 4, into Overflow on 5, whatever the follow-up is from Druid, unless you had a crazy fast start, it's going to be tough to beat it. So, kind of got to brush that one off, but Fr0zen with a quick 1-0.
Yep. So that leads us to our next intermission. And so we're going to take a few minutes and get set. And when we come back, we're going to have the conclusion of today's matches, as Fr0zen Rami will be our last series of the day. So stay tuned. More Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas continues right after this.
Masters Tour Montreal Online is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network. T-Mobile.
I would rather be the funniest person in the room at this very moment. Long term, it would be better to be the smartest, but it's just about the moment.
Funniest person in the room. Funniest?
I would rather be the most funniest person in the room.
I'd probably rather be the most intelligent person. Actually, if you're the most intelligent person in the room, you're in the wrong room. That's what they say.
If you're the most intelligent person in the room, then you're probably also going to be very sad. But if you're the funniest person in the room, then you're going to make everybody laugh and everybody's going to have a great time. So I'd rather have that.
Yeah, I'd still rather be the most intelligent and the most funny person in the room.
I think other people are more funny than me, and I would rather be just the smartest guy there, and if we play a game, I would rather just outplay them.
Intelligence is very nice, but happiness is more important, and I think also actually with happiness or with a lot of intelligence comes together as well.
I think I'm both, so... That's a nice answer.
Welcome back, everyone, to the final match of today. We're currently in the middle of it. Game number 1 in the books as Fr0zen kind of steamrolled that early Demon Hunter build from Rami, which is, a little painful for Rami, given that the fact that, he has such a good record with it on ladder, and I'm sure he was hoping for a much better result to open things up. Hey, sometimes that happens. As we go into game number 2. Fr0zen's going to turn to his mage to see if he can get that solidified victory to go up to a 2-0 lead. Not a lot of tricks, just a lot of solid, streamlined 2-ofs to make it consistent.
Yep. This was the version that I believe Orange popularized a week back, a little before the balance patch took place, which didn't affect Mage at all. Maybe some of its matchups, but overall the same, with the Cobalt Spellkin and the Arcane Breaths. So a little bit with how powerful the 1-mana spells are for Mage, why not just double down on them? Get more from Cobalt Spellkin and make use of Arcane Breath while you're at it. At the very least, it's a deal 2 damage for 0 mana that gets you another spell for Mana Cyclone. At the very best, it's that plus you get to discover a spell once you have the Cobalt Spellkin in hand. So definitely like this streamlined version of the deck. Seems more consistent, shores up some if you lack card draw or lack the generation outside of Mana Cyclone, it shores that up a little bit in the mid game. Maybe not quite as explosive, but still a good deck. And Rami's going to turn to Soul Demon Hunter once again. And now he finds a much better matchup. I feel like against the Tempo Mage, this is where the Soul Demon Hunter can shine. Because Tempo Mage takes quite a while to set up their big combos. And while they're doing that, the Demon Hunter is setting up their big damage. And outside of randomly generated freezes and ice barriers, Mage has no way to defend themselves. Especially a version that doesn't run natural mirror images in it.
Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe the fact that, not having all those like small little one-ups will end up being a pretty significant factor, but I guess only time will tell. So here we go into the first turn. Fr0zen does pick up this Primordial Studies to help him get rampant, and he's going to need to get out to the board quickly because that Mana Giant is key to ensure that he doesn't take too much damage early on. Rami has Chaos Strike to help keep the tempo up, and then he has the Mana Feeder Panthers over 2 turns. Seems like everything is looking good. He's got Soul Fragments actually this time in his deck.
Yep.
Liking how everything is lining up so far here for Rami.
You don't pick the walks.
Well, I mean, with the double Mana Giant hand, Evocation is probably the spell that you're looking for. But it's going to need like a Sorcerer's Apprentice or something to really get this ball rolling.
Right.
You do need to be a little faster against Soul Demon Hunter because it may seem like you're just going toe to toe in the early game. And that's until they equip the Marrow Slicer, and then on turn 5 they hit you for 9, and then you're like, wow, I'm dead.
Yeah, very much so. The deck ramps up in power pretty significantly. It feels like just kind of one of those decks that sneaks up on you as Rami right now, thinking about if he wants to go for this trade versus pushing that damage. I don't think the damage push to face is super critical. You don't really have a hand that indicates that you can really keep that momentum up if you do commit to damage, so I do like this play. Well, I mean,
Combustion, just more mana efficient, I guess, and also cleans up the board while allowing you to push one. I mean, I feel like the big part of this was just discounting the Mana Giants further. He was hoping to hit a couple of spells, I'm sure, or spells that helped him generate more spells.
Right.
But wasn't quite able to get there. And 2/4 mana 8/8 enhance seems great, but I feel like against Soul Demon Hunter, just doesn't seem like it's enough. Wow.
Right,
okay. So really respecting the lab partner here.
Yeah, I like it. I think the lab partner just in general is really threatening in subtle ways through drawing cards like Cram Session, going into the Raz Frost Whisperer turns, and I think that it ends up being a card that if you leave alone, it can come back to bite you. But I think that might be a lot of respect for it, maybe a little bit too much.
Just looking at it like his next couple turns, it feels like pushing the damage and then following it up by killing it and protecting the 5/5 is seems like a better play.
Right.
But I mean, maybe he thinks that it's just gonna keep having a steady state on the board and he won't be able to deal with it. But that 5 damage is a lot. That feels like a lot to miss.
I mean, this is a lot that you have to also sink into the Mana Giant. Rami's now dealing his 2nd point of damage this game to Fr0zen's life total. Just to go to show you about how aggressive both players have been fighting for the board. Raz Frost Whisperer is interesting here. Does give you the opportunity to develop that or play the 2nd Mana Giant. I feel like your opponent showed a lack of ability to deal with the Mana Giant, and so I'm inclined to maybe press in further, but you can also just choose to play the Mana Cycle this turn too, since you don't have many spells. Alright.
Okay.
Interesting. Cram Session just for that one card.
Alas, poor warlock.
Yeah, over pinging, but I think it's just the fact that he wants this Mana Giant to be as cheap as possible.
Right.
Which does make a lot of sense, but Rami is now like he's piecing together in his hand a lot of from hand damage. Soulshard Lapidary, Keen Sun Fury, both cheap, and now he goes face with the 2 damage.
Yeah, I guess maybe he feels like he has damage now in his hand with the Lapidary, so he should feel like he's in a better spot in order to handle that, which I can definitely agree with. Lapidary and Keen Sun Fury is definitely better than, you know, having 2 Draki Warblades in hand in terms of your outlook on damage. Now Fr0zen, once more, back in the driver's seat, prioritizing tempo so much to the point where Rami just has to play defensively. Rami does have tools, but no Blade Dance for the easy, decisive swing. I think this is time where we can definitely consider setting up the Warblades this turn.
I see.
Oh, looking for Blade Dance? Ooh, he finds it. Wow. Big swing, because now Rami gets to push damage and clear the board. He doesn't have to choose. It's always fun. I think of Blade Dance as a modern form of Blade Flurry from the Rogue class sometimes. It obviously has a lot of differences, but it does feel like the kind of way that you want to get, this kind of effect that you want with Blade Flurry, which is pushing damage and clearing the board.
Time grows short.
Maybe that's why I like the deck so much, TJ, because this reminds me of Blade Flurry from Rogue.
Job done.
Yeah, it does.
A simple spell.
Not as powerful though, but you know, I'll take it. Whatever. It's cool, I guess.
It's alright.
Rami not going for the Blade Dance last turn, instead going for the Eldraki Warblades. I understand this as well, just because it's going to be tough for him to get all these weapon swings, considering he also still has double Marrow Slicer left in his deck. And he still knows that there's another Mana Giant. So right now in his hand, he doesn't have a guaranteed way to deal with it, like a second Mana Giant. So holding on to that Blade Dance is important, but also kind of pushing damage before maybe things start to get out of hand is important as well. But Fr0zen's hand has just not been coming together, really. He's just been playing like one thing a turn, which honestly is kind of perfect for the Soul Demon Hunter. They're happy with that because they can pretty efficiently deal with one minion.
Right. They can efficiently deal with one minion, and they also do have access to AoE, and that Magtheridon with that Shattered Mystic being picked up does give him AoE clear as well, so he could push damage, could go for Blade Dance and clear off the board, and then if it gets too crazy, let's say there's some ridiculous amount of generation through, say, Puzzle Box, you know, in the coming turns, he's got the ultimate front half reset in the deck with the Shard Shattered Mystic. This is looking good for Rami. Now he's going to push damage, and finally we get to see the Demon Hunter at its best. Clearing the board, pushing that damage. Fr0zen looks like he is marked for death soon here.
Iceberger's something, but
It says explode.
I mean, it's just delayed the inevitable because Fr0zen, effectively Fr0zen needs to draw like the natural evocation from his deck if he wants to have a chance. And then beyond that, he needs even like a little more help. That evocation needs to pull like Deep Freeze,
right?
To be able to like turn after turn, be able to stop Rami from dealing damage. Because Rami has everything checked. Even if Fr0zen is able to turn a board state and freeze, he has Magtheridon plus Shard Shattered Mystic kind of reset. Plenty of damage still left in the hand and still left in the deck.
You win.
So, and second
All
Swords
right,
Apprentice is the pickup, but not going to do anything. And I mean, that's kind of how the matchup just goes, right? Mage has no way to defend themselves. They feel pressured because as soon as they fall behind, they die. But if you're expanding their cards too quickly, they can't save up their cards to be able to go for those big combo plays with Sorcerer's Apprentice. So you just kind of get caught between a rock and a hard place, and then eventually you just die anyway. So it's a tough matchup. Tough matchup.
Yeah, it looked pretty tough from Fr0zen's side because, you just pressure them, and that's why, Empedizado was playing cards like Frostbolt straight up in their deck. So overall, kind of understandable that it ended up that way, but I'm sure Fr0zen was hoping that it would go a different way. That goes into our game number 3 with the Demon Hunter and the Druids checked off. Priest and Mage versus Rogue and Druid. I'm kind of feeling like Rami's Demon Hunter was definitely one of his best openers. I am curious to see how his Secret Rogue and Druid, Malygos Druid, will perform, given that he's put what seems like a lot of time into Demon Hunter. Fr0zen's going to go to his Galakron Priest, featuring, of course, Galakron, as well as a couple more focus on control tools like Wild Pyromancer, and a little bit less on any kind of top end. Doesn't even play like Plague of Death, for example.
Yeah. Just kind of consistency across the board. At least as far as like how the deck operates, it seems not how the deck operates, but in how it's been built. It seems similar to his ideology behind the Mage, which is like consistently being able to find resources. His Temple Mage with the double Cobalt Spellkin. I'm actually seeing a lot of players move away from Galakron altogether to win the aggro matchups more, and give up a little bit percentage points some of the value matchups, because value matchups are starting to fall out of style, I suppose is maybe the right way to put that. Fall out of the metagame.
Yeah.
But we shall see.
Yes, we shall see. And I do agree. I think that does feel like it's going out of style, and for the most part, it does strongly feel as if we're leaning towards Priest just falling out of the metagame entirely, which is certainly intriguing to me, given that I feel like we've only really begun to touch the surface of what Priest can be doing. But alas, here we go into game number 3, and we'll see if the Priest can get that win over Rogue, as Rogue is one of the classes that's best equipped historically to handle Priest, being able to put out a lot of damage and board presence through tempo. Full keep from Rami. All right.
The great full keep. Prep,
Sure.
a spell, and Edwin. Seems fantastic. Delicioso.
Be born again.
I'm definitely intrigued by it. I don't know if it's particularly going to win in the game, but I think it's going to generate enough momentum that will give Priest fits, especially if he starts off with Cult Neophyte and makes things a little bit trickier. One Shadow Step, and this game gets blown wide open for Rami. Ooh, okay.
That might change things. Now I kind of just play the questing and trade over the 2/2.
So many options.
And just
It's
hope
vulnerable
that-
to Apotheosis, but you get to pop off next turn with Shadow Jeweler if that questing lives.
Yeah, it also, it's vulnerable to a lot of things. AoE, it's vulnerable, like any kind of Pyromancer stuff, I guess. Vulnerable to, trying to look at his removal tools. Holy Smite, there's just a lot
Let's
of
be
things
clear,
that actually
it's
do
always gonna be vulnerable to something. No matter when he plays it in the game, it's gonna be vulnerable. But I feel like this is the highest potential of the deck, or of the card. This is what I like the least, because now he doesn't have a payoff in hand for anything, right?
Yeah.
So let's say questing does get dealt with. It means that now his Shadow Jewel Hanar and his Edwin are both stranded. Whereas if he played just the questing and then it was dealt with, then he still could have gone Edwin or Shadow Jewel Hornar the next turn. Maybe he's okay with that. Maybe he's okay with it being like this.
Yeah, it's just if he traded a 2/2, we knew that he didn't have a way to deal with it. He would have had to have Holy Smite, so the exchange is exactly what he said. He got neither the payoff with Edwin nor the Hanar, which is painful. But this Cult Neophyte allows him to dagger and push damage anyways.
Yeah. Fr0zen, a notable play he made this last turn, instead of going for more value from Raised Dead, opted to just get the Disciple of Galakron back when he knew he could heal up the damage that the Raised Dead would do, because he had a lifesteal minion. Because he could have just waited for this Wandmaker to die and then got a second minion back. But instead decided to protect his life total by using Raised Dead when he knew he could heal it back up. So,
right,
I say that's pretty smart.
I like it.
And this also means that this has a kind of a target on its back.
Right.
Because of the fact that he knows that there's a Disciple of Galakron in here.
The Brotherhood shall.
Wow. I mean, this was definitely a weaker variant of the Van Cleef that we kind of anticipated from the very beginning, but I guess he's got to find some way to establish tempo. I can't help but kind of go back to what you were talking about, TJ, which is like, because he accomplished neither, it feels like Rami's aggression has just been dulled for the rest of the game, and now Fr0zen's just like pretty far ahead of the resource advantage. As long as he can kind of temper the amount of aggression that comes out of Rami's board, he's just going to be ahead on tempo soon as well.
A simple spell should do.
Yeah, the one thing about the play is, so if you expect, if you think that you'll never win a value game against Priest, you have to take those risks, right? If you expect that you'll never beat them in a straight up, like card for card value game, then sure, strain your Jewel Hanar all you want, because it doesn't matter, because you're going to lose in the grand scheme. And so taking a risk on the questing adventure makes sense. But like if that's the case, then in that situation, I'm going all in on Edwin Van Cleef instead, and making the biggest minion I can, and then if that's dealt with, then I go with questing. Instead of stranding the Edwin in this case. But I mean, Rami's actually found a decent spot here for Flick, but we are rolling into Soul Mirror turns, and Rami, outside of like picking up a secret from Wand Thief or picking up a secret from the top of his deck, doesn't have a particularly powerful play next turn. But still, not out of this game by any means, because those two cards in hand can provide so much value just by themselves. It does pick up Dirty Tricks. Now Shadow Jewel Hanar is active, and he can start going off with some of these secrets. None of these particularly good against Priest, so I'm picking the Paladin secret.
Right. Bamboozle?
Same. Pick the cheapest Bamboozler Snake and ambush.
Oh, none of these really give him any card draw, which is what he really lacks at this moment.
Yeah, but he did get the. He started off with the Dirty Trick, so that's I suppose the card draw that he needs.
Choose soon.
Yeah, I think it's fine. But in the end, we knew that this was somewhat inevitable. Oh, I guess a little fun interaction with this plus the Snake Trap. I guess that's what ultimately meant Bamboozle would have lower value. So we felt like having Snake Trap was better because of this specific interaction.
Well, I mean, does it have lower value because it would have bamboozled a noble sacrifice into a 4-drop?
Right. Which would
Wouldn't
have
a
given on
4-drop
average
have-
+3/+3, I guess. Sort
Yeah.
of.
I don't know.
It's a little more consistent, but
I think it's
thing is,
exactly the same, honestly.
Yeah. Rami has actually protected his child Julhanar and drawn
Quickly.
cards from the secret. So now it looks like Fr0zen stuck in a little bit of an awkward spot where he's kind of worried about his life total. Goes for the renew. Oh my goodness. What a call. Rami not happy to see that. He was really hoping to get just a little bit more value, which he would have been able to if he was able to capitalize on this blackjack stunner.
Just nails the silence. Oh my god.
It's nasty. That
Ugh.
is nasty.
Yeah, another one, Portal, probably the best there. At least more consistently the best, just to try and get more minions. Evil Miscreant first, because maybe I can get an Ethereal Lackey and then find something better to use this prep on.
Yeah, it's
Deadly
certainly
poison.
curious.
Too soon.
But yeah, you bring up a really good point on like what he could be using some of these mana discount stuff for. Rami, I guess, just trying to go by death by 1,000 paper cuts with one Soul Mirror already used. Maybe he's not anticipating any opportunity for a second one to really come out here. And of course, that secret could be counterspell. Fr0zen tests for it. Onage Maid Scribe, all right. All right, I think this is starting to come a little bit together, TJ.
Fr0zen?
Yeah, he just needs to stabilize just a little bit more, and then I think the coast is clear.
Yeah.
Oh! Oh, that's a nasty one. Ecclebot is definitely not what Fr0zen wanted to see here.
Yeah. And the death by 1,000 cut strategy might actually work out. One of the things that I wouldn't have been too upset about last turn was using Blackjack Stunner on my own Hanar, from Rami's perspective.
Right.
Because now he can't, he still can do that, but it doesn't do anything. Like last turn, if he had at the end, you know, you're giving up 1 damage on board, but you Shadow Step, and then this turn you have the option, especially with an empty hand, of starting off with a 3-mana Shadow Duel and Arcane Ambush, which gives you a lot of value options. How his hand had kind of played out, I didn't mind that. I mean, I would even have accepted like Evil Miscreant, but this time he ends up just using it on the Hecklebot just to try and push some damage, and does have. He has 1 Eviscerate left in the deck. He has a Wand Thief, which can be damage, as well as Shadow Step, which can be used on like Evil Miscreant Divine. So, does have some damage in the deck. Apotheosis picked up. So the secret is Ambush. It was not a randomly generated ambush. Wait, it was. It was a randomly generated ambush. 'Cause he still has 1 ambush in his deck. Right. It was a randomly generated ambush, so Fr0zen has no idea what it could be. And does get the ambush. Can he Apotheosis and still... Where you go, Sethic Veilweaver, then Apotheosis? And end the turn with Radiance Heal if you don't find anything that you can utilize?
I like it. Anything to try to stay...
Second Apotheosis!
What? Oh,
I'm actually surprised he
goodness.
didn't split these Apotheosis because of the ambush token.
Oh, secret passage off the top. That's
So there's
huge.
not really. He has one Eviscerate, and that's the only direct burst damage he has in the deck. He can find Wand Thief, which can pick up more. Finds Ambush, Blackjack Stunner, Shadow Step, and Jandice Barrage.
Wow.
I'm
I mean,
going with
the lackey damage, maybe?
I was taking Shadow Jeweler Hanar with Ambush.
I mean, he's got outs for lethal. Oh my god. Wait. He can blackjack stunner his own miscreant.
That would be 6 mana total, and then he needs Kobold Lackey, one Kobold Lackey or double. You can still get Tundra Rhino.
No, it would have been 7 mana because of the increased count for the blackjack.
Oh yeah, it's 4. Yeah, you're right. So it would have been. It had to be exactly Kobold Lackey. I mean, but this is a very difficult board to do with, regardless. This is kind of why I wanted to split the Apotheosis targets last turn, because you still clear off the same amount, but it makes it more difficult with the ambushers.
Fr0zen almost out of the woods. So close. Yeah, Hecklebot has no downside right now, except not even into an ambush because there's not enough board space.
Yep. Awkwardly enough, the Alar is really weird. There's no Blackjack Stunners left. There's no Saps in the deck. Grave Rune is quite difficult to deal with for Rami.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure how without the Blackjack Stunner, but
Wand Thief into...
find some way to get past
Polymorph?
it.
There's Wand Thief.
Yeah, so we can trade a minion in. Probably his Hanar. I think Hanar's ship has sailed. Then we Titanic, then Wand Thief. Then Wand Thief picks up some way, devolving missiles. Rolling fireball. Well, these are like reasonably powerful cards, right? You can just play Power of Creation, and that might be good enough.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what he generates off the Power of Creation. Okay, Unseen Saboteur.
All right. Oh my gosh, this game's been weird. All right, so still an ambush.
Yeah,
Secret,
there's still an ambush.
Still a full board.
Fr0zen is particularly interesting given the Power of Creation.
Yeah. You get a Wand Thief, Titanic Lackey, but not their battle cries, and then you get a Power of Creation, and that's it.
Deathwing is actually kind of insane here if Fr0zen gets it off Draconic Studies. Because he could trade. Oh no, he can't trade.
Wait, like actual Deathwing? Deathwing?
Yeah, but
would just die.
You mentioned the ambush.
Yeah.
Wait, why? Why would he just die?
Because the ambush would spawn.
Right, but you clear the entire board and then they have ambush, and then you have minions to play, and they don't. You know that there's just a lackey in the hand left, right?
Yeah.
So I felt like it was really, really good in that spot.
Whoa!
Oh, if he played the Disciple of Galakron.
Yeah, he thought about it for a second.
Oh, is that enough?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
That's enough.
Wow.
Is there any
Narrow,
punish? No, there's no punish.
thin edges.
Silly.
And just like that, Rami is able to go up 2-1. The one top deck off the very top of his deck, Eviscerate's able to get over the hump, and Rami is now up 2-1 on match point up against Fr0zen, looking to get his first victory on broadcast in Grandmasters here.
Yeah. Very nicely done. Kind of messy, a little bit in the mid game, but you know, he kept the pressure up and forced Fr0zen into some awkward positions where he presented, like you mentioned, like the death by 1,000 paper cuts, which is kind of awkward because Fr0zen was spending his entire turn like soul mirroring in situations where he wasn't clearing off the board, and so Rami was just able to keep playing small stuff that eventually got the job done, or he, you know, stuck enough damage to eventually get the job done. But yeah, it was, you know, it's really hard to win the value battle against Priest. So that was like his last turn to be able to pick it up. But he also had a secret pass left in his deck that was probably likely to pick up Eviscerate, because Eviscerate was the only form of direct damage, only form of even like generated direct damage that he had left. So barely squeaked by, exact lethal. But it doesn't matter how you do it, it just matters that you get that win count. But now Rami's going to be switching to his Malagos Druid, and if I remember correctly, 2 weeks ago, in Rami's first appearance, Malagos Druid was the deck that he could not find a win with. He was really struggling towards the end. Maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly, but it seemed like one of the decks that
yeah, Malagos Druid was
caused
definitely
his
a play
loss,
struggle.
But, yeah, not caused his loss, but was one of the decks that he maybe contributed slightly to it. But he's got Overgrowth and Breath of Dreams to start things off. We keep it Overgrowth and 1 Breath of Dreams. Search for a dragon. Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I don't think you keep the double Breath of Dreams unless you know for a fact that you have a dragon in hand. You know what? Didn't find the dragon, but he has 2 Overgrowths. I think that's okay. Cause for, you know, maybe a mild celebration if he finds front loader ramp. He is going to be sitting pretty.
Whoa! Holy moly! Pack it up, Dan. This one is done.
You think so?
No, I just like hyperbole for the sake of hyperbole.
Okay. That's what
Makes my days more exciting.
Rami is the greatest Druid player of all time. Is that what you want to say?
That is the best Druid hand I have ever seen.
That's right.
If I had to give Fr0zen a percentage chance of winning this game, it would be less than 0%.
That's right. And Fr0zen already knows a lot about zeros. He has 0 in his username.
He does.
Breath of Dreams picks up the Innervate and that Mana Crystal ramp. This is going to be tough, but Chenvala and now Sorcerer's Apprentice and Mana Cyclone and CJ, I think it's safe to say, pack it up. This one's done.
This one is done. That is the best mage hand I have ever seen. If I had to give Rami a percentage chance to win this game, it would be less than 0.
That's right. And Rami knows a lot about percentage chance and numbers because he's got 94 in his username. Like his win rate on ladder with the Demon Hunter deck. What? Swipe Innervate coin hero power. That is how much he's respecting that.
That is the best Druid play I have ever seen. I'm done.
Wow.
Well, I mean, this means that now Rami has no answer to just a Sorcerer Apprentice that's split onto the board. Fr0zen could just refill here. I wonder if he plays the Evocation. I don't think so. That's kind of like a play for next turn. Okay.
Yeah, you don't need to play the evocation here because you have such little mana to play cards with, and you still need to generate spells with the mana cyclone. So if you end with a hand of, you know, heaven forbid, like all expensive spells, then you're not able to play anything, and mana cyclone won't give you any cards. Fr0zen finds a mana giant off the top, and with all of this generation, this looks like an opportunity for Fr0zen to jump so far ahead of the druid that it might not matter that Rami has all that ramp. Definitely one of those moments where you think, is it worth just playing Ancient Mysteries just to ramp up a little bit more of that mana giant? Or do I just play like a lab partner and just get onto the board with actual meaningful board stats? He's going to target his
I was thinking this
Jaina mirror image with Icicle.
And I think you mirror image again, and you just free up the board space that you can actually play Mana Giant next turn. I mean, this is actually pretty smart. I like this. It's weird, that's for sure, but I like it. It's pretty cool. The Source Apprentice is still going to live. That's the crazy thing. This plays a Teacher's Pet in Hero Powers.
Yeah, like it doesn't really seem like there's much to do. You can't really kill off that Sorcerer's Apprentice. Wait, no, he's increasing the power on the board.
Got me fired up.
That's way scarier.
I actually didn't want to do anything there. I didn't even want to hero power down one of the mirror images. I think I want to keep these mirror images on the board to limit the amount of power that Fr0zen can have.
Right.
As weird as that sounds. Because the more you chew through these, yes, you leave the Sorcerer Apprentice on board, but you're not hero powering that Sorcerer Apprentice for a long time if that's your plan. Oh my goodness, that's another indication.
Expensive spells, another Netherwind Portal. It almost feels like Netherwind Portal is so common off of these card generations. And it's a pretty solid one, right? It gives you tempo and kind of locks your opponent into a tough situation where they have to test for counterspell always, but then they always give you a 4-drop randomly.
Yeah. Kind of like Netherwind Portal, Mana Cyclone, Ping, and just play a Mana Giant. I like trade the Mana Cyclone.
I like the Mana Giant. Second Source Apprentice just for tempo.
I mean, I like it. Well, what's he gonna do? Swipe it again? He hasn't even tested for counterspell.
I'm having a vision, TJ, where Rami can't win with his Malagos Druid. I feel like that vision once again is becoming the reality here. What do you even do?
You have to play Teacher's Pit or you die.
Do you play the Omu? I guess Omu can go in next turn. Jeez, this is so awkward. It doesn't seem ideal in the slightest, but you gotta survive as best as you can. And we know that Fr0zen has a chance for lethal.
A simple spell.
It's unlikely, but a chance.
Well,
Frostbolt helps.
Yeah. Oh, there's 2 Sorcerer Apprentice. Yeah, as long as there's no taunt in this, it is lethal. Exactly 17. Silverback Patriarch, it's your time to shine. Nope.
No. And Fr0zen's gonna find a way to get that win. Malagos Druid had one of the best starts it can ask for, but the Mage right back with a Chinvala, double Sorcerer's Apprentice, Evocation, Mana Cyclone, and a Giant Hand. Strikes right back. And perhaps goes to show you why Mage is quite the fearsome deck. Even if you feel like you have all the proper necessary resources, Mage just with the unstoppable opening hand will do too much damage to you for you to recover from.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I don't think Rami's too concerned because looking at the last matchup, Rami should be a pretty heavy favorite. Fr0zen's playing straight up Galakron Priest with no Mindrender or Lucia. So no way to disrupt the combo outside of a randomly generated Mindrender or Lucia. I understand the no Mindrender or Lucia too because the card's just getting worse. I mean, every day you look and it's like Priest is lower win rate, and you look at each individual archetype within Priest, and
protect the wild.
Mindrender Lucia falls further down on like mulligan win rate, played win rate, drawn win rate. Like it's in the 40s in almost every matchup, except for Malagos Druid. So unless you're specifically trying to target something, I don't even know if I'd like the card anymore. Feels almost too situational now, which is weird to say because of how much hype was around that card, or anti-hype was around that card. Oh wow, probably has like the same start as last game. That's if he picks Breath of Dreams, but I think that's a little bit too much ramp. Yeah, I'd pick the Wrath. So Fr0zen's win condition here is basically tempo, is just to try and tempo Rami out of the game, force him to use some of his burst damage, burst spells on his minions instead of his face, because otherwise Rami's just gonna essentially have all the time in the world to just find his Malagos and then play his combo. Those are just gonna play minions and hope to disrupt that somehow, some way or another.
Yeah, that's why this Wild Primarance is important, just to get that damage early, as you mentioned. And we see Fr0zen. I mean, he has a 3-mana 3/3. Could probably justify playing Draconic Studies and the Septic Veilweaver instead, because then he could curve into the Cobalt Spelkin the following turn, which I think I like a little better.
This damage his minions, but he's not worried too much about that. One thing is that doesn't have to worry about positioning or his board getting swept up too much by Lake Thresher, because there is no Lake Thresher in Rami's deck. Maybe not expecting too much aggro. What Guardian Animals also does, though, without the Lake Thresher, is it gives you consistency. It means that you are pretty sure to know what to draw. And he does find Twilight Runner, which means he gets more card draw, has more ramp in hand. Now he really just needs some combo pieces. Speaker Gidra Overgrowth next turn. Beautiful follow-up. This one's looking pretty rough for Fr0zen, I feel.
Yeah. It does not look likely that Fr0zen's going to be able to handle this kind of pressure. He's just so far behind at the moment right now. Mind Flayer trying to get some board presence, but if you can't even answer that Twilight Runner, it's going to continue to draw more cards. This is looking real dicey. I guess, like, from his perspective, even if he went for the Cobalt Spelkin, what could he even really get mana-wise? I think instead he probably thinks that he has to save his Wave of Apathy and Cabal Shadow Priest and coin on turn 6.
Yeah. I think the coin's going to be too important. I think the big decision there was whether or not to Mind Flayer the Twilight Runner or the Teacher's Pet. Whether or not he felt like they need the card draw the defense. And I kind of agree with his assessment here that the defense seems more important.
Nature speaks through us.
But I mean, we're looking at a scenario where he dies next turn.
Oh my gosh, this is just so much to try to stop here. Rami's looking pretty unstoppable.
I wonder. Time waits for no one.
Okay.
Man, thinking so long about how he wants to engage his Mind Flayer and does not want to put itself in range of any kind of removal, I suppose. Doesn't want to put that Teacher's Pet onto the board either. I guess I just wasn't really optimistic that Skidger could do anything but remove, so I wanted to keep the board squeaky clean, but that's just my preference here. How much damage is this? I don't think it's enough. We don't have enough. Actually, we don't have enough mana crystals to even swipe after we play Malagos or Germination. So.
Yeah, I kind of just wanted to have a clean board in the last turn.
Right.
There was some outcomes of the Teacher's Pet that meant that there was no way to get a fully clean board, but I guess protecting the life total on the Gidra means that Fr0zen always has to worry about it. It's just...
Yeah, he was thinking about tempoing out this Malagos. Going for the Wrath.
Okay.
And I mean, he kind of senses desperation from Fr0zen because, I mean, Fr0zen used Wave of Apathy with no other cards that he wants to usually combo with, like his Cabal Shadow Priest or his Cabal Acolyte. Not that he could use it on Shadow Priest because he didn't have enough mana.
Yeah.
Tempo Malagos.
Yeah, I'm
upstairs.
not opposed to this at all. I think this is great because even if Fr0zen goes for like that Wave of Apathy plus Cabal or Cabal Acolyte would only have a small chance of getting it. Cabal Shadow Priest would have a would mean that you're leaving up enough damage on board for him to push through because he would have double swipe going into the next turn, which would be 8, 9, 12 exactly. So I think this is just a checkmate situation. I don't think there's a single thing that Fr0zen could do.
I like it a lot. Fr0zen in a spot of desperation. Going for the coin.
Yeah, he's dead.
Hoping to just remove as much as he can off the board. I was thinking coin Soul Mirror. But in this case, I think Fr0zen's play does something similar. And that's just not going to be enough. He can Interfire. He can heal. And that's going to be death. The play from Rami, the call out with the Malagos, ends up being the winning play. And the courage and the read to go for that Malagos has paid off. Rami gets his first win in Hearthstone Grandmasters on broadcast after not being able to get it through with his Malagos Druid last week, able to do it today. And a job well done. Looks like Rami takes a deep breath of relief because, you know, it seems like he's one of the players that really wanted to perform well. And today it looks like he was able to get that. You know, some games looked like it was even over, and Fr0zen did a good job bringing it all the way back to Game 5. But you gotta feel happy for Rami because it seems like it meant a lot to get that first win.
Yeah, it is a big deal. Even if it just means like you don't have to